Welcome, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Society of Schenectady. I'm the Reverend Lynn Gardner. If you are new here tonight, the pronouns that fit for me are either she, her, or they, them. And I serve as co-minister here alongside Reverend Wendy Bartell. Please use Wendy's name rather than pronouns, as he, she, or they do not fit Wendy's gender identity. We hope we have a chance to meet you after the service. And if we do, please introduce yourself and let us know your pronouns too. We know that there are lots of things that bring people together on Christmas Eve and that call us to come to a Christmas Eve service. Some of you are members, friends, or longtime regular visitors here. And you wouldn't miss an opportunity to gather with these people on this magical night, either in this room or in our Zoom sanctuary. Some of you were invited or persuaded or cajoled by some other people here. Some of you are here because it is Christmas Eve, and church is where you choose to go on Christmas Eve. And we are lucky enough to have you have chosen this place. However you have made your way to this service, we are indeed grateful that you are here. Unitarian Universalism teaches us that there are many paths to understanding, and that one of our guiding principles and values is to engage in a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. So we'll do some of that together this evening. We come together on a chilly winter night to consider our faith, to contemplate an ancient birth story and our place in the ongoing and ever unfolding story of existence, to sing new and familiar songs, to listen for the wisdom in the quiet and the darkness together, experience what gifts may arise, and perhaps find us blessed, maybe even astonished by joy.
Unitarian Universalism also teaches that there are many sources of faith and truth and inspiration that can be found in many of the world's religions, philosophies, and practices, including science and history. This past weekend, while we focused on honoring the winter solstice, we also acknowledged Advent, Bodhi Day, Las Posadas, Hanukkah, and Kwanzaa. And tonight we pay particular attention to the Christian scriptures and the story of the birth of Jesus of Nazareth, and consider how this story informs our faith and our lives as we conclude 2025 and head towards 2026. And tonight we explore how the birth story and a baby, heralded by angels, celebrated on this night, inspired wise ones and shepherds, poets and songwriters, young ones and elders, and all in between, to bear witness to the beauty, the blessings, the communities of hope, the miracles that surround us every day, and to be regularly, if not only occasionally, astonished by joy. This month of December, we have been exploring the theme, Still There Is Joy. And in this season of darkness and light, let us remember that light is not superior to dark, because we know that we need both. For darkness and light are necessary and sacred for life to continue and to flourish. So now, as we prepare ourselves for the mystery and the wonder, the silence and the singing, the applause and the quiet appreciation, let us consciously be aware of the gift of our next breath. Maybe listening for angels or ancestors, the cry of a baby or the chuckle of one, or our own heart's longing. And when we can, over the coming days and weeks, repeat this sounding joy so that all who are in need of it can hear it.
A flaming chalice is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, a light of inspiration held in a cup of community and hope. This evening, we've invited the Person family: Elaine, Melinda, Kelly, Tommy, Andrew, Jude, and Lindy, to kindle our chalice as we share these words adapted from the Reverend Gretchen Haley. Calling all who cannot wait any longer for joy, for hope, and for some good news, even a little. The time has come. The waiting is over. Here in this time, we have an old story to tell, one that has been shared over and over for thousands of years. But still, somehow, it remains unheard, still radical and risky, breaking through into these days of darkness and cold division and fear, interrupting the perpetual stories of violence and loss and the feelings of powerlessness. Into the errands and errors of our everyday Christmas arrives not only to comfort, but to awaken, to reassure, and also to stir us up as a new life, a life of peace and justice and courageous love struggles to be born. Believing that it is not too late for strong and gentle people to win, for compassion and truth to have the final say, for the bright light of hope to shine through even on the darkest night. Come, let us celebrate the good news of Christmas, and let us worship together. Have you ever felt bored? Yeah, you think we all have. That is quite likely. What kind of expression might you have on your face if you felt that way? How does it feel in your body? Okay. And have you ever felt amazed or astonished? Maybe. What would that look like? What would that feel like in your body? Tonight's story is about being amazed. Long, long ago in a land called Galilee, there lived a young woman named Mary and her husband, who was named Joseph. They were traveling from their home in Nazareth to the city of Bethlehem, where they had been called to go to report for the census and to pay their taxes. And because it was long, long ago, and there weren't cars or trains or scooters or bicycles, and people traveled by walking or riding a horse or a donkey, the trip took quite a while. It took several days for Mary and Joseph to make that journey. It was a long trip, but they were not bored. They were not bored because you see, a lot of amazing things had been happening in their lives. Many months ago, an angel had appeared to each of them. That was pretty astonishing. Not only was it amazing to see an angel, but the angel told them that if Mary said yes, because consent is important, so if Mary said yes, that she would become pregnant and have a baby, and that that baby would grow up to be a teacher who would share lessons of love and peace, and he would bring hope and joy to people in the world. Mary and Joseph had both been really astonished by all of this. And now it was about 9 months later, and they carried all that amazement with them as they were traveling to Bethlehem. As the sun sank low in the sky, they began to look for a place to stay the night. But because there were so many other people traveling for the census, they couldn't find a room. And finally, after knocking on many, many doors, someone offered them a place to sleep in a stable with their animals. And since that baby was due to be born very soon and it was getting late, they decided that it was a good time to stop and rest. And they were grateful for that place. Now, the cows and the sheep that were in this stable, they were probably amazed that there were two people and a donkey who were joining them. And then they were maybe even more astonished when there was a baby born right there, too. And then Mary and Joseph looked at their baby boy with his beautiful brown skin and his dark hair and eyes, and they were astonished. Because even though they knew they were going to have a baby, they didn't know that they were going to love him like this. Any parents out there ever been amazed or astonished by that? Yeah. They were amazed at how big their hearts felt as they held him and snuggled him close. They were astonished by joy. And the stories say that the angels visited shepherds who were with their sheep in the hills, and the angels sang and told them that a baby had been born. And I bet that those shepherds were astonished too. And then the stories say that a new star was in the sky, and others noticed that star. And while sometimes amazing things happen and we maybe pretend we don't notice, or that we're too busy, or we don't have the energy to respond, on that night and in that week, some people felt so astonished that they stopped what they were doing and they went to see what that star was all about. So, over 2,000 years ago, when Jesus was born, some people say that incredible things happened on earth that night. I believe them. I can even believe that angels sang because it is a wondrous thing when new life begins, surrounded by love. It is an amazing thing when people have the courage to try to co create, even when it doesn't work out. Right now, think of it. Right now, somewhere on earth, there is a new baby who is receiving its first breath. And another baby is being held by their adoptive parents for the first time. Each a beautiful babe with families who want good for their new little one. And even though they don't know what the future holds, they take a deep breath and feel the wonder and awe and joy that fills them. May we too allow ourselves to be filled with that wonder, with the hope that possibility brings, and by the arrival of joy and love. One of the ministers in my home congregation, Reverend Gretchen Woods, shared a story about when one of her sons was young. Everyone in their family knew when he had found something astonishing because of something that they called the wonder breath. His eyes would get big And he would inhale in amazement and then let it out with a sigh. A beautiful flower, wonder breath. A snowflake landing gently on his cheek, wonder breath. Seeing his grandparents' car in the driveway, wonder breath. It is a powerful thing to have this incredible world inspire feelings of joy and amazement. Whether we believe that oceans, mountains, hummingbirds, rainbows, and babies exist because of the intentions of a divine creator, or that it all came into being by chance, we can all be astonished by beauty, and amazed by the choices that we can make. We don't have to slide into apathy and cynicism as we grow or as we pay more attention to what's happening in the country and other parts of the world. We may experience more of the pain and sorrow that comes with being human. And definitely part of living in a world where cruelty and greed have assumed positions of power. But we don't have to let cruelty, greed, violence, or fear of our differences steal our longing for peace, for justice, and for connection. We can choose to risk joy for ourselves and for others. There is a beautiful poem by Alberto Rios called Christmas on the Border, 1929. The poem is based on newspaper clippings and local recollections from that time.
"1929, the early days of the Great Depression. The desert air was biting, but the spirit of the season was alive. Despite hard times, the town of Nogales, Arizona, determined they would host a grand Christmas party for the children in the area, a celebration that would defy the gloom of the year, the headlines in the paper, and winter itself. In the heart of town, a towering Christmas tree stood, a pine in the desert. Its branches, they promised, would be adorned with over 3,000 gifts. 3,000. The thought at first was to illuminate the tree, like at home, with candles maybe, but it was already a little dry. Needles were beginning to contemplate jumping. A finger along a branch made them all fall off. People brought candles anyway. The church sent over some used ones, too. The grocery store sent some paper bags, which settled things. Everyone knew what to do. They filled the bags with sand from the fire station, put the candles in them, making a big pool of lighted luminarias. From a distance, the tree was floating in a lake of light. Fire, so normally a terror in the desert, but here, so close to a miracle. For the tree itself, people brought garlands from home, garlands made of everything, walnuts and small gourds and flowers. Chilies, too, the chilies themselves looking a little like flames. The townspeople strung them all over the beast. It kept getting bigger, after all, with each new addition. This curious donkey, whose burden was joy, at the end, the final touch was tinsel. Tinsel everywhere. More and more tinsel. Children from nearby communities were invited, and so were those from across the border in Nogales, Sonora, a stone's throw away. But there was a problem. The border. As the festive day approached, it became painfully clear that the children in Nogales, Sonora would not be able to cross over. They were quite literally on the wrong side of Christmas. Determined to find a solution, the people of Nogales, Arizona, collaborated with Mexican authorities on the other side. In a gesture as generous as it was bold, as happy as it was cold, on Christmas Eve, 1929, for a few transcendent hours, the border moved. Officials shifted it north, past City Hall, in this way bringing the Christmas tree within reach of children from both towns. On Christmas Day, thousands of children, American and Mexican, indigenous and orphaned, gathered around the tree, hands outstretched, eyes wide with shouting and singing both. Gifts were passed out. Candy canes were licked. And for one day, there was no border. When the last present had been handed out, when the last child returned home, the border resumed its usual place, separating the two towns once again. But for those few hours, however, the line in the sand disappeared. The only thing that mattered was Christmas. Newspapers reported no incidents that day, nothing beyond the running of children, their pockets stuffed with candy and toys. Milling people on both sides, the music of so many peppermint candies being unwrapped. On that chilly December day, the people of Nogales gathered and did what seemed impossible. However quietly regarding the outside world, they simply redrew the border. And in doing so, they brought a little more warmth to the desert winter. On the border, on this day, they had a problem. And they solved it.
As the choir sang, "Beyond my tears for what I've lost, there's still my joy. There's still my joy." And that joy, dear people, that joy that can arise in you in astonishing ways, it is yours. It is yours to feel and yours to share. Just as every child born has the potential to bring light and love to a hurting world, every child is worthy of wonder, worthy of feeling joy. Poet and spoken word artist Andrea Gibson managed to inspire joy in a variety of ways. Their vibrant gratitude and awe for life became even clearer in the last several years after receiving a diagnosis of ovarian cancer. Even in the midst of treatments and pain, they wrote of wonder. Even as they were nearing death this past July, there was still joy. In April of 2024, Andrea wrote, "At the end of our lives, don't we want to say we celebrated the holiday of having bodies? Don't we want to know we lived like we never forgot we were born astonished and we were never intended to grow out of our awe? We were never intended to grow out of awe." And much like in the stories of Jesus's birth, wonder and joy are acts of resistance against powers that want to create harm and that would put limits on love. So let love be born in the humblest of places. Let faith be shown by those who don't know how it will all turn out, yet are courageous enough to act anyway. Let astonishment come to shepherds and farmers and those who work the night shift. Let hope come to those who are oppressed so that we may rise up together. Let peace come to those who are grieving all that they have lost and yet still open their hearts to others. And let us be astonished by joy, by quiet joy, by bubbly joy, by loud and raucous joy. Joy that we weave like shimmering threads through the tapestry of our lives on this Christmas Eve and in the days to come. We close with this beautiful poem from our dear beloved colleague, the Reverend Dr. Rebecca Parker.
You have to know your body as the home of God. And this is the purpose of Christmas. The rose blossoming in the wilderness is the unfolding of your pleasure. As the fingers peel an orange and sweetness buds in the mouth. The bright star in the night sky is the sudden clarity of your instinct for joy. The birth cry in the night is your child falling into the dark in your arms holding her. The terror of Herod's murderous intent is your rage that would prefer death to change. The singing angel is your voice at church, not sure of the tune for certain, but for a moment there is glory. The animals breathing their warm breath in the fragile stable are your emotions kneeling into the body of earth, at ease in the presence of God. Mary is you, God in your body. Joseph is you, sheltering God in the world. This is the key to the mystery. The Word became flesh. We are the dwelling place. We are the dwelling place. When hope is hard to find, for it has been hard to find at many points this year, or when hope sings clear like angels, for there have been many times when there has been great hope. May we remember our instinct for joy and that love dwells within all of us. May we remember to make space for, to carve out space for all of our feelings, and to remember to be astonished by joy. Amen. And blessed be.
On this night, when hope is reborn and the miracle of peace might be within reach, and the joy may resound and even repeat, we bring our worship service to a close by sharing candlelight and the singing of Silent Night. As we continue to darken the room, we can begin to notice just how much light one small flame can offer. Jesus' life and teachings brought the light of God's love and the hope of justice and peace to many. And like a flame, his message was not completely safe or easy to contain. It threatened those in power as he questioned the status quo. Love one another, he said. Simple. And yet, human beings find that so challenging. Tonight, as we sit in near darkness, as we pass the flame to one another, Let us open our hearts to the possibility of love's pure light. Each of you possess a unique spark that could bring light to some part of the world, if you will but kindle it. Within every one of us, lies the potential to be the dawn of redeeming grace for one another when we make amends, when we dare to rise up together against injustice, when we resist fascism, when we care for one another, and when we express our joy.
Breathe easy. We're here. It's Christmas Eve, and we're together. Let us happen with great regard for one another and the magnitude of the history of this birth story, to which we are connected more than 2,000 years later. We might just be able to believe that it is not too late for compassion and truth to have the final say, for the bright light of hope to shine through even on the darkest night, to be astonished by joy.